Okay, so I can't remember if I was going to do a video about solving all the problems this has. This did not come with the frame that mounts to the wall that these plug into. I found out that they're not 1/4 inch dowels, they're 9/16, so maybe some kind of metric number. I made some test cuts, so I used my drill with my 45-degree attachment, and it didn't work. It didn't fit, and the reason is that if I zero this out, so I'm 0 there, what you're going to see is that this is more like around 40.5 degrees. It's not anywhere close to 45, so that's 4190, 3980. So anyways, um, when I'm not holding the camera here and shooting video, it's about 40.5 is kind of the neighborhood. That says 42. But anyways, it's not 45 degrees. So I'm going to have to figure a way to cut a block so that I can drill the proper angle after measuring it out and create that. I'm gonna do some testing, and then if I can do that, I'm gonna take some mahogany. I'm gonna cut it so I can match what's going on the back of this record. Okay, so I was gonna use this angle adapter here. As you can see, 45 degrees is the max. So I made, where to go, this. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drill a hole in here so that I can use a clamp, because I'm gonna have a short runway when it comes to making a series of 3 holes. I only have about that much wood where I can clamp it, attach it, but hopefully I have the angle here that I need to guide that drill bit right there. All right, so now I just need to put a hole in here so I can put a clamp, the finger of a clamp. Okay, so I did 2 tests here. I set up my line, which is how far in from the edge the holes need to be, and then I marked about 45 millimeters apart. So, and then this is about the top of the cabinet here. It moved over. So I did this hole, and this hole. That didn't work very well. And so I tried just widening the holes after I made my angle gauge here. And I went from, I think, 19/64, and then I jumped up 1, and it fit a little bit better, but still snug. And so I jumped up again to, I believe, 21/64. And so I have this guy, and it's a little bit loose, but just to show how it's working. So there's the bottom holes, there's the bottom dowel, and it slips right into position. It's a little crooked, although it is broken. So the trick is going to be to have it be absolutely flush with the outside edge of the cabinet. So what I might do is actually make it a little oversized and then hit it with a trim router. That would be the clever way to do it. So maybe I'll look into doing that. But at this point, I am getting it to meet with the dowels pretty cleanly. So if you ever run into this problem, I hope this video is really working for you. Okay, so this is such an obscure thing. I'm not sure who's going to watch it, but this is the back of the record player holder. That long edge managed to line up exactly where it needs to be, or at least it can be wiggled just a hair, and then corrected for when the long piece goes in to create the miter. I'm going to have to cut this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a chisel, my flat chisel, and I'm going to drag it and score the fibers here to create a mark. And then I'm going to mark this and give myself a marking line. Same thing with, they all stick out a little bit. That's by design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my power miter saw and I'm going to cut off the bulk of it. It's quite a bit longer over here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use a picture framing guillotine to really tune in the miter. And basically I'm going to use hand tools. And then I'm going to use hand planes to try and get this flush without going too far beyond. So that's the plan. So in a nutshell, hand tools are going to save the day here, not power tools. So I am going to just gently make a mark here. so I know where the guillotine has to go. Oh, it's pretty close. So there's a mark on here. I'm just going to gently put that there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sneak up on it, running up and down the stairs from the basement, unless I bring my guillotine up here. And then I'm just going to mark the bottom too. And so I'm going to get close, and I'm just going to check the fit. So that's what I'm going to do with the edges like that, the ends of the boards. For this edge, I'm going to pull this tight. Oops, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to pull this tight, and then I'm going to gently drag a line here along the edge. And then I'm going to hand plane that down. You can see it's a little crooked, but there's a little bit of an angle. It's fatter over there than it is over here. And so I'm just going to get a nice sharp hand plane and just shave off a little bit more over here. And then I'll just keep checking the fit. Okay, so we're going to do a little kitchen woodworking here. It's the only surface flat enough and large enough for me to lay out my pieces at the moment. It's a work in progress. Anyways, this is a guillotine. This has a blade here and a blade here that travels back and forth. So I can do a 90-degree cut here and a 45-degree cut here. You want to hone this blade, not technically sharpen it, but it does a really nice job of trimming an edge. You can see this is, I've already used it here. This is where it was. So notice the roughness. You want to take thin cuts. You end up with something that looks like that. And then you can see how perfectly smooth that is. So that's how the guillotine works. I'm going to use it to sneak up on these end cuts and make sure that these are dead on. Okay, so you'll see my mark there running the length of the board. I'm just going to take out my number 5 from Woodcraft there, the Wood River plane, and just shave it down, hopefully straighten this out. Okay, so just a quick view of what I'm doing here. The pieces are installed, they're tight. And so what I'm doing is I'm just using the guillotine to slice off little pieces until I get it exactly where these points meet, that point meets, over here meets hopefully, and over there meets hopefully. I checked the box to see if it was exactly 90 degrees, and it should be. So I'm going to slice it until something goes right or wrong. And then a little nervous this angle isn't exact. But so that will be a perfect 45. And then it looks like maybe I need to slice them off here to make this work. So I'll figure it out, and this is just the general process. Okay, so had a little issue with the miters. This is going to come up a little short. I'm just going to knock off that corner. This is pretty close. And so the top is going to be more visible, so I kind of was careful with that board. But I think it's going to work, and then I'll show you what happens. So I was using the miter trimmer here, and I was trying to use the button here to back it up, keep it from shifting, but I had some miscuts, and so it was jumping back to about that position. So unfortunately, I ended up with some miscuts, but I'll just live with it. And so this is a reminder. Make sure if you're cutting 45s, be really certain that it's set at 45 because it could shift around. It has this little thumb thing here, and it does have this pin that you can kind of use it to back up the gauge. But what would really help is if I had this permanently set and had a support board, and then I could actually clamp it and keep it from torquing because it pivots in my hand. If I'm cutting and I cut a little too much off, I can feel the board twisting in my hand as it goes. So anyways, I feel like we got the job done. It's pretty close. I might have been actually better off using a power saw for cutting the miters, but I wanted to get this done, and I didn't have time to bust out the table saw. So that's well, when it works, it works. It's a lot more solid at 90 degrees because it has this backer here, and it gives you a much more consistent cut. So when it comes to trimming boards to the exact same length, it works really well in this case. So, at some point, maybe I can figure out a way to get a clamp under here to back this up. So, but like I said, I feel like it got the job done. And so it's time to move on to the next step. Just a quick and dirty snapshot. I've got the dominoes in here. There's a reason you buy a domino, and this is it. It's just super fast, super easy, super accurate. So yeah, they're not cheap, but yeah, they are also worth the money because they save you pain and anguish. If I could get it kind of limp along to this point, the rest of it's kind of a slam dunk. So anyways, it's looking good. So I think it's going to hold the case on the wall, and that's all that matters. Okay, so it's like a Rockler commercial in here. I got the Rockler glue tub that I really like with the lid and the the silicone, the big one. I use it to cover up my work table because it's my gluing surface for a lot of things. But I didn't go with any fancy corner clamps because of the Festool dominoes. I was able to just, I think, squish everything together and form it up. So hopefully I didn't distort the shape too much because there were some gaps, and I actually filled them with sawdust a little bit to just reduce the amount of space in there. So anyways, I'm going to take the clamps off and I'm going to see if this thing fits. Okay, so next to a tub of bathroom remodeling stuff on the floor on a drop cloth, this is where I did the fitting for the sides. I'm going to double check this, see if I got it started, and it should travel into position. So it's not perfectly flush, but it's pretty good. I need to take a hand plane and just shave it down just a hair over here. Anywhere that it's proud, it's a hair shy on this side. It's a little bit proud over here. So I'm just going to take a pencil and I'm going to mark the areas where it can go down. But other than that, it's a good fit. I need to trim off these two. But yeah, once I've got it just shaved down a little bit, I can start the process where I try and mimic a little bit the texture of the teak. I'm going to kind of put some lines or some pores, some fake pores into the outside edge before I do any staining and finishing. So anyways, I'm going to call this a success for as much as it needed to happen. All right, time to do a little trimming. Okay, first a little cleanup, just to trim off the glue. This is my goosenecked 1-inch. I like the wider chisel. I've said it in a lot of videos. I like the 1-inch because I can come in at an angle and just kind of pivot it to do a flat cut. So that looks good. Hardly any squeeze out over on this one. Maybe need to use more glue in the future. All right, so that's looking good right there. Okay, so it's hand plane time or block plane time. Just gonna knock this back. The blade is angled, so it's cutting away. So these fibers are what the ones I'm cutting. So I want to do is cut in this direction so that they fold over rather than going the other way and just breaking and making a big mess. This is also a low angle plane, which means the blade is a regular angle. Let's see, a regular angle plane would be up here someplace. This is lower, so it should help cut through some of this end grain, which is comes in and slices straight in rather than which way? This way? I don't like. Oh, sorry, like this, which could rip off that side more. So I did a little bit of shaving on the edges. We're going to see how this fits. Okay, so I put in a couple of bench dogs. These are going to act as stops. It'll keep it from sliding away on me. And then let me pull the camera back a little bit. I made a mark here so I know that I can kind of feel it. It's kind of a ridge or high spot, but just going to use the block plane to knock it down. We're going to see how that looks. And to clean up the corners, just using an old school card scraper. Works well on any kind of unevenness, helps smooth out any high spots where the wood didn't meet very well. Also helps take care of some of that glue squeeze out. All right, looking good.